Afternoon and welcome to a comprehensive approach to facade fire mitigation. This series of modules is designed to logically address facade fire mitigation in the context of recent facade fires globally. As Philip mentioned, in the last 4 modules, we've been addressing fire resistance, fire propagation and testing, reaction to fire, and facade consulting and inspection. In each of our modules, we feature an introduction to the module, a minimum of 2 presentations focusing on important and relevant aspects of the module topic, and an opportunity to raise questions at the end of the module. As mentioned at the start, I'd like to request attendees to only use the webinar chat to post questions for the Q&A session, or raise any issues related to sound quality or internet connection, etc. Please do not post general chat with other delegates. The chat feature has been moderated as mentioned. If you want to ask a question, could you post the following on the chat forum: who the question is directed to and your question to be asked. In the previous 2 modules, we looked at fire resistance and fire propagation with a focus on current standards for fire testing. In the final module next week, we'll be addressing fire consultancy and inspection process for facade systems. In this module today, module 3, we are addressing reaction to fire with a view to combustible insulation in facade systems. By way of introduction to myself, my experience covers 35 years in the sector, with the last 7.5 years being held here in the Middle East. I've served both as an operational firefighter and fire safety officer in the UK Fire Service for 20 years. I'm currently a fellow of the Institution of Fire Engineers, and I've worked as a fire engineer at Network Rail, managed teams for both large and boutique fire consultancies in the UK and the Middle East. During the presentation, there'll be a number of acronyms used. Therefore, I've included a slide highlighting key definitions from the UAE Fire Code. As you know, reaction to fire is one of the 2 main categories of evaluating fire performance. It focuses on materials, if they burn, how they burn, and what happens when they burn. It is important that we examine characteristics such as ignitability, surface spread of flame, smoke and toxicity, and combustibility of the components making up the facade system. We must also look at the facade system as a whole. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first of our 2 speakers, Nada Shami, Business Development Manager at St. Gobain. Nada has been part of the St. Gobain Group for the past 10 years. She actively works on developing energy-efficient solutions with a building science approach and promotes sustainability and well-being within the built environment. Nada holds a mechanical engineering degree and has a PhD in building insulation and energy efficiency from Mainz Paris Tech. Nada is also a board member of the Emirates Green Building Council and works on promoting the advancement of sustainable building in the region. She works closely with the academia, government departments, and construction stakeholders to develop elaborate collaborative solutions and initiatives to some of the region's greatest challenges. Nada is going to give us a presentation on key learnings from past fire incidents, as well as relevant aspects of facade material characteristics that are not yet considered enough in fire codes, including toxicity. Nada's presentation is entitled Facade Fire Safety, and will discuss how facade design and material choices have a huge impact on fire safety. During the presentation, Nada will be addressing the following points: key learnings from past fire incidents, definition of reaction to fire with a brief focus on ASTM E84, UL 723. Further detail will be given on those in the second presentation, and also on EN 13501-1. With the recent introduction of combustible insulation in facade systems, Nada will highlight the fact that the current code is not addressed for all system types and will discuss the limitations, namely, 1. EU classification is more suitable for characterizing and classifying facade components. 2. Some of the sections in the code do not differentiate between types and heights of buildings, which is key in assessing the criticality in terms of fire performance. 3. Some of the fire propagation tests listed on the code are easy to pass compared to more stringent ones used for high-rise buildings, for example, BS/ISO. And fourthly, toxicity, which is a worldwide topical subject, is important to assess but hasn't been addressed yet in the codes. And finally, an example of how European codes address the fire safety in facades, reaction to fire and propagation, and the importance of a proper facade design to limit the fire propagation when using combustible materials. I would now like to hand over to Nada for her presentation. Thank you.